Okay, so I'm just going to give a little introduction to myself before I get into the main topic of this. So, my name is Jack, and I've been really invested into CG sports for a long time now. But now I finally want to actually make some content about it because it's something I'm really passionate about, and it's been something I've been thinking about for a while. And after the end of the 2024 Six Invitational, it kind of finally gave me the confidence to actually do this sort of thing because I was like, oh, the esport actually seems to be going in a positive direction, which is something that I felt like it was kind of just teetering in between. Oh, it's good, it's interesting, and oh, it's kind of sometimes. But now I really feel like it's in a really good spot, and people want to talk about it, and people will enjoy uh, discussing about it. So before I start with the main topic of this is, which is going to be going over uh, phase two of the Manchester Major, I just wanted to recap phase one, even though it already ended and probably everybody already knew what happened. But I just want to start there really quickly. So, of course, phase one, you got most of your usual suspects making out of there: SSG, Liquid, and Bleed. All made sense. The big thing was, of course, G2 completely bombed out of this major, and this was pretty embarrassing for them. I've watched like every G2 game ever since their inception into Siege, pretty much, and every iteration of this team from like I've seen, this is probably one of the most like embarrassing losses for a G2 team that I've ever seen, and I've watched that team with Kayak, Yonka, and Hungry on it. No offense to those guys, but this was a horrible performance. So, but everything else kind of went as expected. Cruelty suck. I did expect CAG to make it through because yes, I mean when they lost to Bleed, I expect them to lose to Bleed, of course, and they did. But them CAG losing to Bleed pretty much guaranteed them that they would play Cruelty, and then Geek, assuming that that Geek could beat out Fearx and then lose to whoever won the G2 Liquid match. So I mean, yeah, you get most of your usual suspects except for G2, of course, with Keg finally making out of a group stage, I guess, of a major. So congrats to Keg, but yeah, G2 bomb out. Everybody else is kind of the same. So now we go to phase two. So we have all our already qualified phase two teams plus Bleed, Keg, SSG, and Liquid from who qualified to phase two from phase one. So starting tomorrow, we got the first game is your NA versus NA. So this is kind of like you see this matchup a lot because they play each other all the time in NA. So I was like, but I think it'll still be a good game, but definitely hard to predict because Beast Coast is made of a lot of experienced players that have never really played with each other internationally before, while Dark Zero are always quite consistent at all the lands they go to, even though they never quite reach the top. They're always there. They always seem to slip in the top eight somehow, and they're always there. So I mean, if you go to their head to head, which would be Dark Zero and hold on, Dark Zero and Beast Coast, and then we go S tier and A tier, and then but yeah, until it was basically Dark Zero kind of owned these guys basically until recently, until this Beast Coast team came along. Now I will say that at the beginning of the stage, when Beast Coast won that game, Dark Zero were definitely in a slump at the beginning of the stage, and Dark Zero definitely start playing better at the end of the stage. And I mean, this game happened like at 2 a.m. after Dark Zero had already played a game at this day, after a very long and grueling day of tech pauses. So Dark Zero definitely could have won this game, but the situation just, Beast Coast came out on top. So this is just a very weird game to predict, but I feel like I just trust Dark Zero more to come out on top. So we're gonna go with Dark Zero, and their long history of land experience to come up top of that one. Game 2, FaZe versus Secret. Secret are coming out of Europe for the first time since the Raleigh Major to qualify to a major, and with a completely new roster, of course, since the 2019. But and then FaZe Clan, of course. But I don't really need to spend much time on this. FaZe Clan have not lost a game since losing to W7M in the SI Grand Final. So I mean, this is like an easy FaZe pick for me. Team Secret are definitely like, don't sleep on them. I think players like Joom are really good, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of people at this event. Hopefully, I hope he does. But yeah, definitely taking FaZe with this one. Now, probably like the next matchup here, BDS and Furia. Probably the matchup that everybody is most anticipated for if you're like a fan of CG Sports, because this is, Shaiko and that new English-speaking BDS team with Uzus and Solotov now instead of Marinchiro and Alems. So, and then Furia, of course, who are just the W7M team that won all the events last year, just picked up by the Org Furia. So you got the Juggernaut that have conquered everything, and the team looking to conquer everything, who have just had, and BDS have just like ran through Europe, and are definitely like the best looking team from Europe, way better than I think any of the other European teams right now. And Furia definitely had a shaky stage. They were not amazing, but they still qualified through playoffs after struggling against FaZe and dropping to the third seed to come out of Brazil. But if you look to let's go back to the head-to-head, and we can go to BDS, and we'll put W7M because they don't have any history internationally as Furia yet. And these are all pretty close games. I say, I mean, 7-5, 7-5, and these are best of ones. 7-5, 7-5. Best of 3, W7M 1. And this best of 3, BDS 1. And then another best of 5, another close best of 5. So W7M or Furia now have beaten these guys literally every single time except once in the best of 3. They're 1-1 in BO3s. But they kind of own these guys in best of ones right now. Even though they're all close, they've won every single one 7-5. So I feel like, one, because Furia have just been the best team in the world for the past year now, and because they have always had the edge on them in best of ones, I feel like it only makes sense to take Furia in this match. Now, this next one's a weird one. E1 and then Bliss. All right. Let's go look at the Brazil regular stage. What is it? Brazil League Stage 124. So if you look at the regular stage for Brazil, Stage 124, E1 were quite mid in. You could even say bad in the regular stage, because the only teams they could beat were MIBR, Liquid, NiP, and who else did they beat? Would they beat? Fluxo, yes, Fluxo, who are all under them. So they could only beat teams under them in the regular stage. Now they did show up in playoffs, so they beat Black Dragons and W7M. Couldn't beat FaZe, of course. It's FaZe. They got shit on. But definitely a better performance in the playoffs. But they're still like, nobody knows these guys really. They don't have any. Well, they have LAN experience because Brazil League is a LAN, but they don't have any international LAN experience. So I feel like it's very hard to predict how well these guys are going to play, because Brazil is certainly the best region in Siege, but I feel like E1 are definitely like the most unknown of the Brazil teams at the major. While Bliss, they they play in a bad region. Bliss are the only good team from the region, but they do put up some. Let's see. Decent results, I believe. Yes. So, I mean, yeah, they beat Wolves in Atlanta, and they put up a lot of close games too. I mean, yeah, except for this one, but this is like prime W7M. So, and and yeah, close game versus SSG, close game versus Wolves. 2-0 by Wolves here, but close game. 2-0 by SSG, close game. 1-2 to FaZe, the finalists of the entire tournament, a close game. They beat Damwon 2-0. They beat Fury 2-0. They beat Wolves 2-1. Close game, but they beat Wolves. And then they lost to G2 2-0 in, I think it was a sort of close game. I don't think this one was that close. Okay, yeah, Sem 5, Sem 4. So, they got some serviceable wins here. And the games they don't win, like, come super close. Like, look at this result against FaZe. This is one of the teams that, like, everybody has winning this entire major. Like, so many of these games they come so close, but they can just never close out against most of the time, except for against Wolves. So because of that, I feel like, honestly, I kind of want to take Bliss here, just because they have the LAN experience internationally, and they know what it's like to play against the top teams. So that's what we're gonna run with. The next match is also interesting. We have Into the Breach and SSG. And Into the Breach are another European team, similar to Secret, where they're coming into this with most of the players on their team having little to no LAN experience outside of Kendrew. And I can't remember if Zoom has been to an event before. He might have been to one or two when he was on Heroic. But SSG literally make every event. So let's look at Space Station. Space Station Gaming. So yeah, Space Station are literally at every event. So yeah, let's start with, I mean, so many wins or close games, right? So let's just go to Copenhagen. Like, they beat G2 in Copenhagen, they lost to FaZe, lost to Wolves, beat Damwon, and then lost to Scars, and then didn't qualify to playoffs there. But, a lot of good results against good teams. Again, Atlanta, they beat, what is this, Alpha Atheris, I think? Yeah, nobody really cares. LATAM team. They beat Bliss barely. They lose to BDS and W7M, who are like world-class teams in themselves. They beat Scars. They beat NIP. They beat Bleed. And then they lose to FaZe in a very close game in the quarterfinals. SI, they lose to Wolves, so they 2-0 FaZe, one of the grand finalists of the tournament. They 2-0 Bliss, 2-0 Damwon, lose to Dark Zero in a close game. And then beat Bleed, and then lose to W7M to make top 8. And then so far this tournament, they've 2-0 Cruelty, who suck, and then they 2-0 Bleed quite dominantly after kind of trolling the first map after being up 5-2. But they smash them on the second two maps. So I feel like, just like, and I also like J90 and Ashen are like so good. I feel like those two can just like bail them out of so many bad situations sometimes. And that's why I just feel like SSG are just gonna take this game. They have more experience, and I just trust their players more right now. I gotta see what Into the Breach have to offer on LAN, because we just haven't seen it yet. If they start winning, then and convincingly, maybe predict ITB, but right now SSG are definitely who I want to go with here. M80 versus Liquid is another interesting game because M80, as we all know, were horrible last year. I think they won. It was either one map or one series out of, and they went to every event last year. They went to both majors and SI, and they only won a series. It was horrible for them. So, but they have a completely reformed roster outside of Spoit now. Well, and the same coaching staff. But outside of that, they have cameraman now, Noodle, Citizen, and they took Kino back off the bench. So do M80 and Liquid have any head-to-heads? Oh yeah, they did play at SI recently. Was that it though? If I had A tier, were there any A tier tournaments? Were they? Okay, no, just SI. So yeah, I mean, this was a bad M80 team. They lost to. I mean, this Liquid team was quite bad at SI too. So both teams are definitely looking better than they were at SI. Liquid not as good, I think, in my opinion. Definitely better than how they started their regular stage, because they started off 0-4, almost clawed back to make the playoffs, couldn't quite make it, and then made it through LCQ. While M80 just kind of ran through most of NA and only lost in the seeding game to Beast Coast in the NA League finals, which didn't really matter. Didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things outside of the seeding difference and then some prize money. So, but I feel like with the new additions to M80 plus the cameraman who knows a team like Liquid very well, and I still feel like I can't completely trust Liquid. While they go 2-0 in phase 1, they played a very bad G2 team and barely won, and they played a very bad Geek team and they beat them 2-0. But I feel like it could have been a more dominant win for Liquid, because I felt like that Geek team was quite bad. So I feel like with the player pickups that M80 made and the that they'll be the better team than Liquid at the moment. So I'm going to take M80. Now, PSG Talon versus Bleed. These teams have never played each other because they're in different regions, and PSG Talon did make a major last year, and that was Copenhagen, and Bleed were not at that major. So this is the first time they ever played each other, and it's a best of one. Now, PSG Talon are definitely on the come up, because after they picked up Fabian and Pengu at the beginning of the year after SI to coach a team, and they have certainly reformed as a team. Because before I heard they didn't even have any strats written down before Fabian joined, and now they have, and they basically started from the basics from the beginning. So, but they beat out teams in Korea like Damwon and FearX to qualify directly into phase 2. And yes, beating FearX is like, oh, it's FearX. Nobody really cares. They suck. But I mean, this major, even though again they went out in phase 1, is definitely the best FearX I've looked in a while. They honestly should be in this spot instead of Bleed, but they really choked away their game against Bleed. They were up 6-3 after winning the first map. They were up 6-3 on the second map, and I don't know, they were like afraid of winning or something. They were like, oh, we're about to win, and then they started like shaking, and then they choked it away. So, and I feel like that just comes down to Bleed just being more experienced. And then again, and that's the same thing with this match. Bleed are more internationally experienced than Talon, and Bleed to me are similar to Bliss in the fact that they're kind of like the two teams out of APAC right now that you could definitely like consider the best teams out of APAC, and Bleed also have like a bunch of pretty close results against good teams at events. They had a couple times where they were quite close to making main stage, but just barely didn't. But I feel like for the reason that Bleed just have more international experience, and I think PSG talent can be quite good in the future, um, with the help of Fabian and Pingu coaching them. But I feel like the team just needs more time in the oven right now. But we'll see. This PSG talent team could definitely surprise on day one and beat up Bleed. I wouldn't be totally surprised if that happens. So, but yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting. But for now, I'm just gonna take the experience of Bleed over PSG talent. Now, Scars and KAG is a regional match, both Japanese teams. So I feel like looking at the head to head for this is gonna be very important. So Scars and KAG. So yeah, okay, these are all really old, but recently Scars kind of own these guys. Uh, yeah, so this is definitely going to be a well, let's just A tier actually. Whoops. Okay. Oh, that's it. I thought there'd be more matches. Oh, show. Oh no, that's just okay. But yeah, recently Scars just have kind of owned these guys, and they've won. It seems Scars have won every time they've played KAG recently. So I feel like whilst KAG again have definitely looked better this event than they have in a while, and it's like the first time they've ever made it out of groups, I think. So I'm congrats to KAG, but I feel like I'm just gonna take Scars because they just look like the best team in Japan right now, and I don't see why they won't continue to be the best team in Japan. So now to round two, FaZe Bleed again. This is an easy um, this is an easy FaZe pick for me again. 9-0, haven't lost since February. So yeah, FaZe. M80 SSG again. Another NA versus NA matchup here. Who comes out on top of this though? Because M80 were definitely the or better team in North America, but SSG are no slouches in North America either. And let's see their head to head. And M80. Okay, so every time M80 and SSG have played either in best of ones and best of threes, SSG have only won one time, and every other time M80 have won this game. So, and even recently in the North America League playoffs, M80 kind of crushed SSG here, 7-3, 7-3. That's pretty dominant. So, yeah, I feel like while SSG, hopefully they make it more competitive than their most recent match here, I feel like M80 will still come out on top of this game. Okay, now Scars and Bliss. Another APAC matchup here. Now, Scars being the best team from Japan, and then Bliss being the best team from Australia. But I feel like Bliss have just put up better and more consistent results than Scars against better teams. So I feel like this is just a Bliss game. But if Scars have improved since the last time they played, which I haven't really watched the Japan League at all, so they definitely could be better than the previous iteration of Scars. But I feel like this is just a Scars pick here, or I mean, sorry, a Bliss pick, not a Scars pick. Bliss have just more consistent results against better teams as of recently. Okay, Dark Zero and Furia. Let's see if they have any head-to-heads. Okay, they do, but they're quite old, so nobody really. Those don't really matter anymore. Different teams. But okay, so for this one, we're just gonna have to go off of like both these teams are consistent internationally on LAN, but of course, these boys have just been the best team in the world for the past year. So I feel like it's just kind of like a no-brainer to pick Furia here. I think it'll definitely be a close match. Darkseer will give them a run for their money, hopefully. Um, but in a best of one, I just feel like Furia have a deeper map pool, and they're just 5 for 5. They're just the better team. Um, okay, Beast Coast and CAG. Okay, yeah, for me, Beast Coast are just. I mean, Beast Coast are just the better team. 5 for 5 here. They got the better players. They have way more LAN experience between the players than CAG do. Now, CAG have more LAN experience like between the players. I think, even though they are a different team than their other teams that have made events before, they still have some of the same players. While Beast Coast is just a mix of players who are dropped off of other teams that have made events plus Diffuser. Now, I'm excited to see Diffuser play actually because he was really good in the NAL stage one. So I want to see how he plays at this event because he could be definitely be one of the top players in his role um, at this event. But I just feel like I can trust Beast Coast more to be more consistent than Keg. So I feel like this is definitely a Beast Coast win here. BDS and Liquid. What is their head to head? Liquid, BDS. Okay, so all the times these teams have played, BDS have won every single time. Now some of these are quite old, but Liquid still have a similar team, that's for sure. Not the same team, but a similar team. But every time they played, it has been a BDS win. Now they've all been pretty close games, I believe, except for like this group stage match here that was in 2021, but that's 2021. Different teams, very different teams there. So I feel like but based off the history plus the fact that like BDS are just definitely currently looking better than Liquid, with especially Usis has been like a crazy pickup for BDS. He's been popping off in the EUL. I feel like I just trust BDS right now more than I trust Liquid to win that game. Now, E1 versus Secret. This is like the battle of mid for me. Because I feel like out of the EU teams, BDS are like way stronger than the rest of the EU teams right now. I feel like EU is quite weak as a region because like other your regular teams like Virtus Pro and Wolves and G2 are just not that great right now, and it's allowing for other teams to kind of slip into those spots. I could be wrong, and these teams could definitely show out, but I feel like right now, from what I've seen, like these teams like Secret and ITB are both like they're both all right. They're not amazing, but they're not horrible either. But the same goes for E1 in this situation, where also they're not horrible, but they're not amazing either. But I feel like I'm gonna take the fact that I'm gonna take Secret here because of I just feel like they're just a little better than the E1 and Edge them out. Like I feel like Joom could just like pop off and just it's a best of one and just win the best of one. This game could definitely just come down to like the map ban pool and whatever team gets the map a map that's good for them, and that's what wins the game basically. Because you got to keep in mind for these best of ones, like whoever maps are definitely going to help teams and produce results as well. In this last match, ITB and Talon here again. Kind of need to see. I mean, I need to see both these teams play at LAN, but I feel like ITB are just going to be a better team than Talon right now. So we're just going to go with ITB here. Again, Talon, like I said earlier, could be a surprise team with the influence of Fabian and Pengu behind them, and also their recent pickup of their new analyst Joker, who I don't know like anything about, but again, more help is more help. So and PSG Talon seem very invested into improving their team to make them into eventually a top tier team, but over a long period of time. I feel like that time is not now for them. So I feel like ITB take the win here. So okay, yeah. Now we move on to round 3. Again, FaZe Bliss. FaZe, best looking team right now in the world. Taking FaZe to go 3-0. And okay, Furia versus M80. This will be a good one. I think these advancement games are also BO3 now, I believe, instead of just the elimination games being BO3, which would be nice because the advancement games being a best of 3 will root out definitely more of the bad teams who might get a good map for them and just win the best of 1. So hopefully these advancement games are best of 3s. So yeah, I mean, if even if this is a best of 3, even when if these are best of 3s, yeah, FaZe still win this. Now for Furia and M80, what is their head to head? M80. All right. So, okay, SI 2023, Furia 1 with W7M1, but now Furia, and Gamers 8, M81, and at SI 2024, these guys, W7M1. But again, M80 are basically completely different team. With Cameraman now, I feel like Cameraman definitely is going to know how to play against these guys better. But I don't feel like M80 are quite at that level yet. Like these guys have been together for over a year now, and they've just won everything. And there's just no reason not to take Furia in this game, I think. No reason not to trust them until, you actually see them, until I actually see these Furia guys actually start losing, if they do. So I feel like this will be a close game, but I feel like Furia are going to come out on top of this. Okay, Dark Zero and ITB never played each other, but in a best of 1, I just feel like Dark Zero just going to be the better team. They have way more experience compared to like ITB, who have pretty much no experience except for Kendrew. But Dark Zero have all the experience in the world and the results to match that. So I just feel this just makes sense for Dark Zero to come out and win this game. SSG versus Beast Coast. Okay, what's their head to head? Because recently I feel like it's gonna be Beast Coast, but all time definitely SSG or Space Station. Okay, yeah, all time it's SSG. Well, actually it's 4-4, but yeah, recently, the Beast Coast have beat SSG only in a best of 1, and this will be a best of 1 again. And currently, I definitely think SSG are, well, they had a very mid NAL stage and they had to qualify to this major through LCQ. They're definitely probably still on par with Beast Coast and definitely could win this game. But I feel like currently Beast Coast have looked better, and this is a hot and cold revenge game here. I feel like the hot and cold revenge game will come into effect, and Beast Coast will be able to win this one out. BDS versus Bleed. Okay, we're gonna take BDS for this one. I don't see really any chance Bleed win this. Not that Bleed haven't had good results against good teams before, of course, but I just feel like, and it is a best of 1, which can get weird for BDS if it goes to a map that's really good for Bleed. But again, I just trust BDS more and the players on the team to come out and just take this game pretty easily. So we're gonna take BDS. And for Scars and Secret, again, it's hard to pick the APAC teams. Even though Scars are definitely one of the better APAC teams, it just feels like Secret are just are just a better team than Scars. So I feel so I'm gonna take Secret from what I've seen between these two teams so far this year. Um, okay, 0-2 matchups, best of threes. Definitely taking E1 here. I mean, Brazil is just they're the they're the E1 is probably my weakest team from Brazil. E1 or Liquid, but it's probably E1. Just because they literally have no experience on land internationally at all. But even though they don't have that, I feel like well, CAG as well. If you haven't played CAG before, if your team hasn't played CAG before, CAG being a really weird matchup because their playstyle is very interesting, and they could surprise here. But I just feel like because E1 are from Brazil, the best region in Siege, I feel like it's just safer to take E1 here because CAG are just like they've never been amazing or anything. So and then Liquid versus Talon, yeah, I think Talon's run ends here against a Liquid team that hasn't looked amazing so far, but again, certainly better than their start to the year. So yeah, we're just taking Liquid there. Um, okay, now we got the 2-1 matches. Now, if these are best of threes, again, like I heard the advancement matches are supposed to be, definitely going to be running with Dark Zero over Bliss here. Again, I feel like this could be a close game, um, because Bliss seemed to match up pretty well against most of the NA teams from what I've seen so far. Um, but I feel like again, Dark Zero is just 5 for 5, and experience wise, they're the better team. So we're gonna take Dark Zero here. BDS Beast Coast again here. Beast Coast number one seed coming out of NA. BDS number one seed coming out of EU in a best of three though. I feel like BDS are just a better team. Shaiko, I always probably one of the players you can trust the most to pop off so consistently out of all the players in the world. And Beast Coast, I don't think they're ready for BDS in the best of three yet, but don't be totally surprised if Beast Coast put up a good fight here or potentially even win this game. But definitely, like, BDS is definitely the safe pick here. And M80 versus Secret again. M80 just, I feel like they're just a better team than Secret. They've got super experienced players, um, experienced coaching staff. The Secret do have experienced coaching staff and some experience on the players on the team, but for the most part, again, it's pretty much most of these players' first ever LAN event. So again, in a best of three, this just feels like an M80 win. And the 1-2 matches here, ooh, SSG Liquid. That'll be a. Do they have any recent head-to-heads here? SSG and Liquid. Okay, no, not really. But in a best of three right now, Liquid again. Both these teams are kind of shaky, but again, SSG, their playstyle, I feel like just allows them to be a better team in best of threes on LAN compared to the regular NA stage. So I just feel like SSG are just going to be able to take Liquid here in probably a close game. Now here's an interesting one. Again, Bleed and ITB. Bleed, certainly a more experienced team than ITB right now, but Bleed haven't looked their best in form currently, but still not horrible by any means. While Into the Breach again, first LAN as a team. Again, I feel like it's a situation where I just got to see what Into the Breach have to offer as a team before I start predicting them to win games. So I feel like if we get a Reaps masterclass like we have so far this tournament, I feel like Bleed are just gonna come out and be able to win against these guys. But again, don't be surprised if ITB come out and start playing well because if they do end up making main stage, they're definitely gonna be a crowd favorite team in Manchester. And then the last match of the 1-2 games is E1 versus Scars again. E1, the most mid Brazil team probably here, and then Scar is the best team out of Japan. But I feel like, again, the fact that Brazil are just the best region in Siege and have the best playstyle for Siege right now, um, that E1 are just going to be able to come out on top of this match. So we're going to take E1. Now, the 2-2 games. The 2-2 games are always the most exciting for me because they have so many stakes on these games. There's so many stakes on these games. So for the first game, SSG and Secret, I feel like this is definitely an SSG game for me. They're just, again, it's just like, it's going to come down to SSG's Secret never having played this playstyle like SSG's, which I feel like is going to work heavily in the favor of SSG here. And SSG are going to be able to probably beat Secret, I think, pretty easily. Again, Secret are kind of like ITB, where it's like I kind of got to see them play to start predicting them more against teams that I think are better than them. So again, if Secret start playing quite well, then this could be a Secret game. But right now, again, I feel like Secret will struggle against how SSG play, and SSG are going to be able to win this game. And again, like J9O and Ashen, I don't know how Secret stopped those guys. Those guys are just crazy. Bliss and Bleed. Oh, it's gonna be a heartbreaker game. I feel like for if this is how it ends up, because Bliss would have started 2-0, and then I'm gonna take Bleed this game, and then Bliss would fall to 2-3 and be eliminated. But yeah, I just feel like I said earlier, that these two teams are like the two best teams that out of APAC right now, and the two teams that you can trust the most to be the most consistent in their results. But again, I feel like I've seen a little more promise out of Bleed than I have out of Bliss, and again, like I feel like Reaps again is just so good. He can just like pop off and just win Bleed games by himself sometimes, and that's probably why I have Bleed probably winning this game, a close game here, against Bliss and qualifying to phase 3. And then Beast Coast versus E1. I feel like this is where E1's inexperience is finally going to catch up with them, and they'll lose this game here to Beast Coast, and Beast Coast will qualify to top 8. But this definitely could be an E1 win if Beast Coast are unprepared for how Brazilian teams play, and they end up stumbling around this game. But I feel like, just from what I've seen from both these teams, that Beast Coast have just put up the better results recently, and they have better players at the moment. So we're gonna take Beast Coast to win this game versus E1. So that means that if we go over to predictions, I just kind of filled it in earlier, but now with this bracket, we're going to have we're gonna have we already had FaZe, and we're gonna have Furia making out of 3-0. Going 3-1. Who do we have? We had BDS, M80, Dark Zero. I already had Dark Zero, M80, and we'll put BDS in there. And then for the teams that are going to go 3-2, we're going to have Beast Coast, Bleed, and SSG based off our predictions bracket. So Beast Coast, and then I skipped by Bleed. Oh, they were right at the top. Okay, so based off the bracket here and like how I feel about all these matchups, they're definitely like, because of how the bracket works, that's why I feel like these are going to be our top 8 teams, just on how it works out. Even though I feel like, there are other teams that are better probably than some of these teams, especially in the 6th, 7th, and 8th teams. But I feel like just the way the bracket works, that it's going to come down to these teams being the ones that make it top 8 instead of possibly other teams, such as, who did I have not making it? We didn't, like Liquid. I didn't have Liquid making it. Didn't have Bliss making it. Didn't have E1 making it. Didn't have Secret making it. didn't have ITB making it. I feel like those are the 5 teams that you could put in place of these other teams probably in these areas here that could definitely have a run in the Swiss stage. But I feel like matchup wise, this is how it's going to work out. Now it's predictions. If I get 8 out of 8, that'd be fucking incredible. But again, it's Siege and it's incredibly unpredictable for the most part. But just matchup based, I feel like this is how it's gonna go. So yeah. But as my first upload ever, if you stayed all the way to the end of this ramble, then thank you, and please feel free to follow my socials and Twitch, and as I'll continue to upload more and talk about Siege more, and I'll also do other things too. I won't just do Siege esports. Like also like I'll just stream I'll stream Siege, of course, just like probably ranked, and also like other games. Like I play a lot of Destiny 2, and my team right now is gearing up for the day one raid race soon in June, so we're gonna be doing that. And also, I'm waiting on the Shadow of the Erdtree Elden Ring DLC, and I think we're gonna stream that. So we're gonna do other things besides Siege esports too. Oh, and the big thing, the one main thing I want to do is I can't do it right now because I know you need permission, or I'm pretty sure you need permission. Is I really want to co-stream the majors and like just like the regular stages like NAL and EUL maybe and even BR6. But again, I'm pretty sure you need permission to do that. So as much as I would love to co-stream tomorrow, the matches tomorrow, um, it's just not going to be possible. But I definitely continue to make update videos as the major goes on. And hey, maybe I'll get permission middle of the major somehow. I doubt that'll happen. But if I do, I will co-stream the major then. But if I don't, then I will just keep on making videos and updating um, the keep on making recap videos. That's the word. Okay. But anyways, thank you for watching, and again, follow the socials for more updates, and goodbye.